Hi, my name is Sarah Mitchell, and I want to share a story that completely transformed my life. November 3rd, 2018, was supposed to be just another ordinary day, but it turned into something I could never have imagined. During that day, after a medical emergency stopped my heart, I experienced something extraordinary. I died, and during those moments, I encountered Jesus Christ himself. It's taken me a long time to put this experience into words. What I felt, saw, and learned during that time forever changed the way I see life, death, and eternity. I stood in the presence of Jesus, and he revealed truths to me that I can't keep to myself. Before I share what happened, let me give you a little bit of background. My life, up until that day, was pretty typical. I worked as a school administrator in a small town in Michigan, where I'd lived for most of my life. My days were filled with the busyness of managing a school, meeting deadlines, and trying to balance the demands of my job with taking care of my family. I had 2 teenage daughters, Emily and Grace, and most of my energy was spent making sure their lives were as stable and happy as possible. From the outside, everything seemed fine. I was a hard worker, a good mom, and someone who tried to treat people kindly. But inside, I often felt empty, like I was running on autopilot. I was raised in a Christian home, and faith was an important part of my childhood. My parents took us to church every Sunday, and I grew up hearing about God's love, the importance of prayer, and the hope of heaven. As a child, I remember feeling close to God, especially during quiet moments at church or when I prayed at night. But as I got older, things changed. Life became busy, and faith gradually took a back seat. By the time I was in my 30s, church attendance had become something I did out of habit rather than devotion. I prayed occasionally, usually when something went wrong, but I wasn't actively seeking a relationship with God. If someone had asked me back then if I was a Christian, I would have said yes without hesitation. But looking back, I can see now that I was more focused on going through the motions than on actually knowing him. What's ironic is that I didn't realize anything was missing. My life was full, or so I thought, with work, family, and everything in between. But deep down, there was a quiet ache, a longing for something I couldn't quite name. November 3rd, 2018 started like any other Saturday. I remember waking up early to make breakfast for my daughters before heading to a school planning meeting. Afterward, I ran errands and came home to tackle the endless to-do list that seems to come with being a parent. By the afternoon, I started to feel unwell. It was subtle at first, a tightness in my chest and a slight dizziness that I brushed off as exhaustion. I told myself I just needed to rest and went to lie down on the couch. But as the minutes passed, the discomfort turned into something much worse. My chest tightened to the point where I could barely breathe, and my arms felt heavy and numb. I realized something was seriously wrong. I called out for my daughters, who rushed to my side. Emily, my oldest, called 911, her voice trembling with panic as she described my symptoms. I remember looking at both of them, trying to reassure them, but deep down, I was terrified. By the time the paramedics arrived, I was barely conscious. I felt my heart racing, and then everything went dark. That's when I felt myself leave my body. It was the strangest, most surreal feeling. One second, I was lying on the couch, surrounded by my daughters and the paramedics, and the next, I was floating above them. I could see everything so clearly. The panic on Emily's face, the paramedics working quickly, and even the way the light streamed through the window onto the living room floor. But here's the thing. I didn't feel fear. I wasn't scared or in pain. Instead, I felt a calmness and peace that I had never experienced before. It was as if all the worries and stress of my earthly life had melted away. As I hovered there, I realized something profound. I was still me. I wasn't my body. I was something more. My consciousness, my soul was completely intact, and I felt more alive than I ever had in my physical body. As I floated above the scene, I began to notice something else, a light in the distance. At first, it was faint, like a small flicker far away. But as I focused on it, the light grew brighter and seemed to draw me toward it. The light was warm, inviting, and unlike anything I'd ever experienced. It wasn't harsh or blinding. Instead, it radiated a sense of peace, love, and comfort. I felt it calling to me, and I instinctively knew that I was meant to move toward it. As I got closer, the light became more vibrant, filling my entire field of vision. It wasn't just light, it was alive. I could feel it wrapping around me, filling every part of my being with love and warmth. Then, suddenly, I found myself in a completely different place. It was a realm of unimaginable beauty. The air was alive, vibrating with a sense of harmony and peace. The colors were more vivid than anything on Earth, fields of shimmering gold, skies painted with hues of blue and pink that seemed to glow from within. And then I saw him. Standing in the distance was a figure bathed in light, radiating love and authority. I immediately knew it was Jesus. There was no doubt in my mind. He didn't look exactly like the depictions you see in paintings or movies, but his presence was unmistakable. As he approached, I felt an overwhelming sense of love so pure and unconditional that it brought me to tears. His eyes, filled with compassion, seemed to look right through me, seeing everything I had ever done, every thought I had ever had. And yet, there wasn't a trace of judgment in his gaze, only love and understanding. Jesus spoke to me, but not with words. It was as if his thoughts were transmitted directly into my heart. He said, "Sarah, you are deeply loved. Your time here is not finished, but there are things you need to see and understand before you return." I felt completely at peace in his presence. Every worry, fear, and regret I had ever carried seemed to fade away. I was filled with a sense of belonging, as if I were finally home. Jesus then showed me what I can only describe as a review of my life. It wasn't like watching a movie, it was much more immersive. I relived moments from my past, not just from my perspective, but from the perspectives of others. For example, I was shown a time when I was short-tempered with a coworker. At the time, I had justified my frustration, thinking I was just having a bad day. But in this review, I felt what my coworker had felt: the hurt, confusion, and sadness my words had caused. But it wasn't just the negative moments. Jesus also showed me times when I had acted with kindness and love. I saw myself comforting a friend who had lost a loved one and helping a stranger who needed directions. In those moments, I felt the joy and gratitude of the people I had helped, and I understood how even small acts of kindness can have a ripple effect. Jesus explained to me, "Every choice you make matters. Love, kindness, and forgiveness create light in the world, while anger, selfishness, and fear create darkness. Your actions, no matter how small, have eternal significance." One of the most profound things I learned during this experience was how deeply connected we all are. Jesus showed me what looked like a vast web of light stretching across the universe. Every soul was a part of this web, linked by threads of energy and love. He explained, "You are never truly alone. Every thought, word, and action sends ripples through this web, affecting others in ways you may never see." I saw how acts of love strengthened the web, making it brighter and more resilient. Conversely, acts of hatred or indifference caused parts of the web to dim. This vision changed the way I see people. Even now, when I encounter someone who is difficult or unkind, I remind myself that they are part of the same web, connected to me through God's love. After the life review, Jesus took me on a journey that revealed the consequences of the choices we make. It was as if he wanted me to understand not only the beauty of heaven, but also the reality of separation from God. The first place he showed me was a realm of darkness. It wasn't fiery or filled with dramatic torment like you might imagine. It was something far more heartbreaking. It was a place of emptiness and regret, where souls seemed weighed down by the choices they had made. I saw people wandering aimlessly, their faces etched with sorrow and despair. They weren't being punished by external forces. Instead, they were trapped in the consequences of their own decisions to reject love, forgiveness, and God's presence. I asked Jesus, "Why are they here? Can't they leave?" He replied, "This is the result of free will. I offer my love to everyone, but not all choose to accept it. This separation is not what I want for anyone, but I honor their choice." As I watched, I felt a deep sadness, not just for them, but for the realization of how easily we can turn away from God without even realizing it. From the darkness, Jesus brought me to a realm of light, a place so beautiful and filled with joy that I can still hardly put it into words. There were fields of gold that seemed to stretch on forever, rivers of crystal-clear water that sparkled like diamonds, and trees that shimmered with colors I've never seen on Earth. The air itself felt alive, filled with music and harmony that resonated deep in my soul. I saw angels singing praises, their voices blending into a melody so pure it brought tears to my eyes. There were people there too, beings of light who radiated peace and happiness. They weren't just existing, they were thriving, filled with a joy that can only come from being fully in God's presence. Jesus said, "This is the home I have prepared for those who love me. Here, there is no pain, no sorrow, only the fullness of my love." I felt an overwhelming sense of belonging, as though this was the place I was always meant to be. I wanted so desperately to stay, but I understood that my journey wasn't over. As we stood in that radiant place, Jesus turned to me and said, "Sarah, there is something you must know and share with the world." He explained how many people live their lives unaware of the spiritual battles happening around them. He said, "There is a deception in the world, one that leads people away from my love. You must tell them to stay vigilant, to seek me, and to live in truth." He then showed me a vision of what is to come. I saw a man rise to power, someone who appeared charismatic, kind, and full of solutions for the world's problems. At first, people adored him, flocking to his words and placing their trust in him. But as the vision continued, I saw his true nature revealed. Behind his charm was darkness, a desire for control and manipulation. This figure, Jesus explained, would lead many away from God. "This is the Antichrist," Jesus said. "He will deceive even those who believe they are strong in their faith. Only those who remain close to me and grounded in my word will see the truth." The vision filled me with both urgency and hope. Urgency to warn others, but hope because Jesus assured me that his light is greater than any darkness. As my journey neared its end, Jesus told me it wasn't my time to stay. He said, "Your mission is not complete. You must return and share what you have seen." I felt torn. I didn't want to leave this place of love and peace. I wanted to stay in his presence forever. But Jesus reassured me, "I will be with you always. My love will guide you, and my spirit will give you strength." With that, I felt myself being pulled back. The light around me began to fade, and the sounds of the physical world started to return. The beeping of monitors, the hum of machines, and the voices of the doctors and nurses working on me. The moment I woke up, I was overwhelmed by a mix of emotions. My body felt heavy, and there was physical pain, but my soul was still filled with the love and peace I had experienced in Jesus' presence. I opened my eyes to see the worried faces of my daughters, Emily and Grace, standing by my hospital bed. Tears streamed down their faces as they held my hand, relieved that I was alive. The doctors were amazed. They told me I had been clinically dead for nearly 7 minutes, and my recovery was nothing short of miraculous. But I knew the truth. My return wasn't just a medical miracle, It was part of God's plan. I had been sent back with a mission to share what I had seen and learned, and to remind others of the incredible love and purpose God has for each of us. Since that day, my life has never been the same. Every moment feels precious, and I no longer take the little things for granted. My priorities have shifted. I've become more focused on loving others, forgiving quickly, and living with purpose. One of the biggest changes has been my relationship with God. He is no longer just a distant idea or a tradition from my childhood. He is the center of my life. I pray daily, not out of obligation, but out of a deep desire to stay connected to Him. I've also felt a new sense of urgency to share what I experienced. So many people go through life feeling lost, alone, or unsure of their purpose. But what I learned is that we are never alone. God's love is constant, unchanging, and available to everyone who seeks it. If there's one thing I want you to take away from my story, it's this: God's love for you is real. It doesn't matter where you've been, what you've done, or how far you feel from Him. His arms are always open, ready to welcome you back. Every choice you make matters. The way you treat others, the kindness you show, and the love you give, all of it creates ripples that extend far beyond what you can see. And remember, this life is not the end. It's a journey, a preparation for something far greater. Heaven is real, and it's more beautiful than anything we can imagine. But the choice to accept God's love and walk with Him is ours to make. I want to invite you to reflect on your own life. Are you living with love, purpose, and faith? Are you staying close to God and seeking His guidance? If not, it's never too late to start. Take a moment today to pray. Talk to God, even if it's been a while or if you don't know where to begin. Ask Him to show you His love and to guide you on your journey. If my story has touched your heart, please share it with someone who might need hope or encouragement. And if you'd like to hear more testimonies like mine, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and leave a comment below. Thank you for listening to my story. Remember, you are deeply loved, and God is with you every step of the way. May His peace and light fill your heart and guide you always.